How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Sharing Jesus podcast. So glad that you could join us today. We have, and last time I noticed on Catching Up in 2026, I introduced everybody but myself. So my name's Michael Reeds, the pastor at Sharon Baptist Church. We also have our student pastor, Ethan Williams, and our associate pastor, Rob Gaddis. And joining us as a guest today, Gunnar McGathy. What a cool name, Gunnar McGathy. Dalton Gunnar McGathy. Anyway, he is the pastor at Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church, right down Colonel Glenn Road there in Little Rock. And how long have you been there, Gunnar?
10 months. 11.
Yeah, next month you celebrate.
Yeah, 1 year next month, the 31st. Yes.
That's
1 year.
That's
crazy.
Cool.
It's kind of weird. Growing up, I never saw myself in ministry really at all. And then I surrendered to the missions, and I was like, I'll just go, on mission trips and whatnot. But marrying into a family with 10 preachers, the Holy Spirit kind of directs you into a bigger role of ministry. So, yeah, never would have thought I'd be a lead pastor first, but here we are. I survived the first year without getting ran off. So,
well, I asked this question a minute ago, and y'all two are related, or I asked it last podcast. How do y'all decide who prays at family functions?
I can
Since
answer
you're
that.
all pastors.
The head of the household picks somebody to pray. So if we're at my house, I'll pray or get somebody to pray. If we're at his house, he speaks. Hey, Caleb, pray. Hey, Sean, pray.
Okay.
So that's how we do it.
Yeah, it's just interesting because we'll go to things and people think that pastors have a monopoly on prayer.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. So I certainly have no pastors in my family. So it fascinates me that you guys are around pastors, and so y'all have to figure out how we're going to do this. I didn't know if people cast lots or.
Oh yeah, I remember coming back when I first surrendered at Next Camp 2024, 23, one of the two. We were playing slow pitch softball, and the next day that I came back, Michael Crowder said, "Hey, you surrendered. You get to pray now," because we always pray before the game. And I was like, "Oh yeah, geez, thanks."
Yeah,
just thrown right to it.
So for those listening, pastors do not have a monopoly on prayer. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're certainly willing to, but I like to hear others pray as well.
Yeah, speaking of that, to chase a rabbit before we come back to Gunnar, I just want to get to know him a little bit better. But pastors, and all four of us, have walked down the aisle and surrendered into the ministry. And pastors do not have a monopoly on leading people to Jesus.
Yeah,
come on.
Leading people to the Lord. And I mentioned it from the pulpit Sunday because a lot of times, and the more Ethan is here, the more the students and different individuals will start going to him, and he'll because you're around them, you're going to be spending the time. But at the same time, I've encouraged parents and grandparents that you can lead your child to the Lord. They think, and I understand some of them that may, especially if they don't go to church regularly, they may not feel confident, or they may feel like, I just want Brother Ethan, Brother Michael, Brother Rob, Brother Gunnar to make sure. Would you make sure? And I understand that.
Sure. I mean, people think, you're not qualified, but you are.
Colossians.
Yeah.
We're all qualified.
Yeah. So anyway. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Gunnar.
Hang on, I lost myself in my ears.
You did?
Yeah.
There you go. And so you got saved how old?
I was 7 years old when I got saved. We were at an Awana closing at East Union, and I remember it plain as day. There's a painter that was painting a picture of Jesus, but he was doing it like upside down. But as he was doing it, he was sharing the gospel and, sharing his testimony through that. And, I had been asking questions, grew up in church my whole life. I was 7. I was, start ask questions, learn more about Jesus. And then at the end, the prayer, hey, if you died right now and you knew you were not going to heaven, raise your hand. And I stuck my hand up. Okay, if you want to give your life to Christ, keep your hand up. And I just kept my hand up. Well, the next day was Sunday. My parents came and got me out of Sunday school, and they started asking, because I don't know why they waited till then, but they said, hey, let's talk some more about that. I saw you raise your hand. I was like, yeah. Went through, saying, I was a sinner, and how, back in the Old Testament, we had to, I remember it was kind of weird. I was like, we used to sacrifice lambs, and then now Jesus came and gave his life. We don't have to sacrifice lambs anymore. And, little 7-year-old me, that's kind of what I resonated with. And then I talked with my pastor, and he asked me some more questions. And then that Sunday, just walked the aisle. And then about 3 weeks later, I think we had a baptism. It was funny. I was the shortest person, believe it or not, that they had baptized, and then I was baptized with a gentleman that was like 6'5", and so it was like shortest and tallest baptized. It was pretty funny.
And so
they thought I was going to have to stand on an egg crate, but I was still chest high in the water. So
we keep a stool in ours.
Yeah, I saw that. We don't have that in ours. Ours is very cramped. I baptized my friend Camden Willis. He's normal built guy. He fit pretty good, but then we had a lady that we baptized who's a full adult, and so her and I in there, we had to make it fit like a puzzle piece because our ladder comes like 3/4 of the way across our baptistry, and I'm like barely fitting over here.
Is it permanently mounted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, kind of.
And it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, but we fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make it work.
Oh yeah. Listen, I get that head underwater. That's all that matters. Yeah. No matter how long they stay.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, so that was my profession of faith. And then growing up, I've kind of always been interested in mission work, kids in Africa, orphanages, orphans, adoption. And so I think I was 14. We were at Summer Jam or Summer Slam, whichever one's at Ouachita Baptist.
Summer Slam is wrestling.
There you go. What's the one at OBU? Summer Jam, I think, maybe. I don't know. It's SVC summer camp at OBU, and they did a decision night. It was pretty cool. I don't really remember this one as much. And I'd been asking about what I could do to serve more, and so I surrendered to being a missionary. And then just kind of had a fire for just serving in general. But the church I was at the time didn't really go on mission trips. And so a community friend of mine, Craig Cole, invited me my 9th grade year to Jamaica with his college-age kids. They had just got back from Belize the year before, and so they were going to go to Jamaica. Yeah. And my parents, for whatever reason, let their 15-year-old kid go to Jamaica. And so ever since, I just have been in love with just serving the Lord. And then, went astray when I went off to college a little bit, had some resentment towards family and resentment trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And nothing I was doing was satisfying, except every time I'd walk into church and somebody's like, man, you really need to lead. And I was like, somebody else can do that. I'll just work behind the background. When I got here, I saw a lack of men leaders that are solid. And so when you're the son-in-law of the pastor, you kind of get in where you fit in as quick as you can. And so one thing led to another, and I reached out and led at Next Camp as a cell group leader with some students. Being a teacher, talking to kids kind of came naturally. And the speaker, Jason Abear's sermon was on willing, the whole week. What are you willing to do next? What are you willing to do? What's God calling you to do next? And I was like, God, this is a kids camp. You're not moving in me this week. That's pretty funny. Mm-hmm. More of the long lines of I need to stop doing dumb stuff and start being a better husband, better leader, better example for when we do eventually have kids. But God said, no, that's not all you're going to do. You're going to surrender to me. And I think it was Wednesday night, I think I surrendered to you or talked to you about surrendering. I was bothered. I was bothered Monday night, Tuesday night, and then Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday night or Thursday night maybe. I surrendered, and ever since just trying to figure out what God's got planned for me. And then Pilgrim Rest called me last August.
Last year. And I remember, of course, I remember whenever you asked for my daughter's hand in marriage, and I remember the nervousness that you had, and then also talking to me about about the ministry and at church camp, which I had about 6 to 10 months before then. Told Karen, I said, God's going to call Gunner into the ministry, and I saw it coming, and that and it wasn't a guess. It was
No.
just, I think it was just the Holy Spirit just kind of prepping me. And I've seen this so many times that when God's dealing with somebody, the family members around them, if they go to church, will see it in
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
They'll see, and I just think it's again the Spirit. There's three ways that God speaks to us today. Through His Word, is number one. He speaks to us by the conviction of the Holy Spirit, convicting us, guiding us, prompting us, leading us. And then He can even speak to us through other people, meaning that you hear a preacher preach, you hear even a close friend that's walking with Jesus, and they feel a prompting to say something to you.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I feel, and a lot of times you'll sit on something, but you'll feel God's Spirit bothering you about that. So,
And your daughter was not going to marry a preacher. She had seen ministry and the messiness of it and didn't want to raise a kid in that, messiness that she was raised in, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so that had been kind of my biggest, I guess, obstacle going into it. Because, I knew that I was going to end up being made for more. I just thought that the limitation was maybe a deacon or just a faithful, hardworking church member. But then, she sat me down, we were talking about it, and she's like, why don't you just surrender? And I'm like, because you said you didn't want to marry a pastor. She's like, well, I didn't, but then, you kind of are going to become one. And I was like, okay. And so that kind of, as a final slap on the back to just do it.
yeah, even she saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God softened her heart because she had, church's a real thing, even in ministry. And we can get into that.
Do you remember what year it was that you surrendered?
I think it was 23. Yeah, it was 23 because Jason was 23, Devin was 24, Chase was 25, and then this year was 26. So
Boom.
should have been 23.
That memory working.
Must be nice.
I got it. I also have it written in the front of the Bible that I preach in, so I get to see it pretty often.
Okay.
The date.
All right.
Well, that's a good segue into our subject we wanted to talk about today would be why is serving so important? Why does getting plugged in, what does that look like and why is that important for your everyday Christian or Jesus follower? So what do you think? What do you think, preacher?
Well, I'll go ahead and take the lead on it, and I want to hear everybody's opinion, of course, and that is from my perspective. Like we just had a set of church members join, and it was so refreshing. And I'll go ahead and say their names, and it was, of course, Jason and Shannon St. Clair. And the fact that, which they were already serving, they just felt God leading them or prompting them to unite with our local assembly, our local church. And that's our context here, serving with a church family. Church done correctly is not a place just to attend, but a place to plug in and get involved. As you've often said, Brother Rob, it's a church family.
Yeah.
And true church family, or even regular family members, need to be involved, need to be checking on one another, need to be praying with each other. And being involved means that you have accountability. That to me is one of the, there's several big things that you could point to. Being faithfully involved, participating, plugging into a local family, you have accountability and you have people to partner with and walk with. Yeah. And growing up, have you seen that, Ethan? Have you seen, church members that were involved, church members that maybe just Sunday morning only?
Yep.
And then, of course, the variations in between.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen most of the time that I usually see in a church is you'll have a few members that'll come forward or they want to become members and they'll walk up and, but the question that they need to ask is what are they going to do next after that? Because, often as I explain to the kids on Wednesday nights or especially at church camp, even when you are saved, the work's not over with. And I think also that falls into place with the church. When you join a church, the work's not over with. And it can benefit and they can aid so many other things in the church, because the Bible tells us the church is a body. Paul compares the church to literally almost like a human body. Every part matters. But that can be a good thing, and that can also be a bad thing, because if there's friction between one part of the church, then that can cause every other part to be disrupted, or cause something bad to happen. But yeah, I believe there's
like any family.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Correct.
I have a unique perspective on this, I guess, because I was just a church attender before I met my wife. But, and I got some scripture references to.
Well, go ahead and elaborate on that.
Okay, so
you were a church
attender, yeah. So a church attender is somebody that just comes in either just even for Sunday school or just for service, or I even showed up for Wednesday nights, but I was there pretty much anytime the door was open. But that's as far as my relationship with others went. We didn't do church stuff outside of church. We didn't serve in a welcome crew or security crew or teach Sunday school class, really. my parents did growing up, but we left Bingham Road and got into a bigger church at East Union, and we never got plugged back in. And so, they say that 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And so when you got 1,000 people attending a church, you got 200 people working. That's as many people as you've got in your church right now. Y'all running about 200 roughly. And so, 1,000 people, 1,000 person church, they got 200 workers. That's a whole fellowship. But when you get down to smaller churches like ours, that's 10 people sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but not everybody that's called into ministry or that Jesus calls is called to be a preacher or called to even be a teacher. I think of Epaphroditus in Philippians 2. He was a soldier. He was a fellow worker, a soldier that was sent by Paul to the. Ooh, hit my mic, sorry.
It was actually sent by the church at Philippi. To Paul.
Because
Paul was in prison.
Back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said,
but like I said,
a regular church
just a regular old church member. So he wasn't even like a deacon ordained or anything yet. And so, God calls everybody that's saved. It's just, will you answer that call and say yes? Mm-hmm. And that could be just simply like Jason, you said, dude, he shows up early to unlock the doors, and he loves that. Like, everybody's got a talent, and God has given whoever it is a talent, whether that's washing dishes, changing baby diapers, opening doors, passing out bulletins, doing the bulletin. It's all a part of the gospel ministry, and it gets thrown on us pastors sometimes when there's nothing, because we're not going to let it slip to the wayside, and that's how burnout really happens. But
and sorry to cut you off, but just to kind of add on to that, that's also another thing that's awesome about having people that serve in the church or help serve in a church, because me and Brother Rob, sometimes there's some things that we can't do, but we praise the Lord that we have people, especially here at Sharon Church, that are I
thought Rob could do anything.
Hey, Rob could fix anything.
If you have any doubt, just ask me. No, I'm just teasing. I'm thankful for all the help we have.
Let's misquote the 4:13.
That
preaching that this Sunday.
Rob can do all things.
Philippians 4:13.
I'm preaching on that this Sunday.
I can do all things. I can't bench press 500 pounds, even through Christ's help, but that's not the context of that.
No, not at all.
But we do have a blessed body of believers.
And
we do.
It's weird seeing what full-time ministers, what they do on a day-to-day life, because that's, I'm the only bivocational person besides now Sean, my other brother-in-law, in our family, really. And so everybody, has full-time ministry positions, which is a huge blessing. But
Rob's bivocational.
I'm bivocational.
I said family. Sorry, you're not blood family.
We are family.
We are all family, yeah. But I'm talking about like when I surrendered. You weren't yet here, but you had just surrendered too. But anyways, and so, wearing myself out could be easy to do because, you know, I'm the only guy on staff, but I have great deacons and great men and great other ladies leaders that help as needed, and they haven't yet to tell me no, and so that's a huge blessing to have because that's not always the case at some churches, having deacons and leaders to step up and help. So
Yeah. I've made the mistake before of doing too many little things, and sometimes I need to learn to, and I have through the years learned to share the blessing of work around the church. People say little odd jobs people want to do, but I enjoy doing them too. But getting involved means, as a pastor, how do I equip? Because that's what's found in Ephesians chapter 4, that the work of the minister, the pastor, is to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. So how do I delegate and disciple my church members? And because unless somebody holds them accountable, they're just going to sit on a pew unless they have a real strong instinct. I used Jason St. Clair a while ago, and the fact that they joined the church on Sunday morning, obviously, then showed back up on Sunday night, and then came to Wednesday right off the bat, and I was like, oh, this is real. They're really wanting to be involved.
Man.
And Rob, from your perspective, you've got not only your associate role here at Sharon Church, you're also a teacher of a very involved Sunday school class. And so what do you see there as, involvement or lack of involvement?
Well, to me, the part where I see, because they are, and I'm not saying this to be mean or anything, I'm probably the youngest one in our class. But I think that spiritual maturity, is in those folks. They're long time Christians, and they realize the value, of what serving and being involved in a church looks like. And I think sometimes people just have to get there. Yeah. But I'm certainly blessed. I'm sitting here thinking of the people in my Sunday school class, and man, they're all superstars. They just, and they've been here a long time and have been, following Jesus for a long time. And I just think that spiritual maturity, it's a natural thing to serve.
Yeah. That word, that spiritual maturity, is something that I've had to kind of learn how to preach to, because in my congregation, at least from conversations and fruits, most everybody in my church, and I would say almost 100% now, has been saved, been baptized, professed faith at one point in time, besides, the little kids. But, and so I'm like, okay, as a pastor, you've heard the salvation story a million times. Now there's people that have heard it a million times and still say no, or they think they've made a profession but didn't really make a profession, but that's a whole other subject. But I'm in your shoes, I'm the youngest in the room, trying to teach these older saints, like, hey, this is what we are called to do next after accepting Christ, after serving in the church for 80 years. You still got to keep running the race, and there's still more to do and be done. You're not finished yet.
Yeah,
it's that complacency mindset.
Well, I learned a lot from my class.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are way ahead of me as far as Bible knowledge.
Yes.
I think, my goodness.
On Wednesday nights, we have open discussion, and Tony Brown, my eldest deacon's way wiser than me, and I got many other guys that just know so much, and just getting to bounce off, it's really cool.
I made a horrible mistake as started pastoring when I was 20. When I was 22, I swapped to a different church, and I was trying to add it all up. Anyway, and for some reason, the way the Wednesday evening was designed, it was like we all have discussion.
Okay.
And unfortunately, as a 22-year-old pastor then, I was asked this question, and I was answering questions really that I had no business answering. And I was kind of like just winging it, but I thought because I'm the pastor,
You had to answer it.
I had to answer. I was like, I have to have an answer. I cannot show weakness. I cannot show that I don't know something.
Yeah.
But then, oh my goodness, that was a humbling experience whenever I finally, what you do is you dig yourself in a hole.
Yep.
And I realized, anyway, just the immaturity in me, lack of experience, also just the lack of experience in that setting, and so I had to admit, talking about growing, and here I am, the leader. So I finally learned the wisest words that a leader can know, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Or let me get back to you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, there's all sorts of.
And I'll turn around and hit
That's my
Chat
favorite.
GPT.
Oh yeah. Now especially. Used to I had to call Josh Garcia. It was the Josh Garcia question because he's the kids pastor at East Union, and Paul Roberts goes to him for Bible questions sometimes. Dude's super smart.
Yeah, gotquestions.org
Yes,
is a
that's
good
a
one.
good
I
one,
don't
too.
get off on that topic, but
No.
Yeah,
but I'm sorry. But,
Well, that'd be a
but
neat
to be
topic for future.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll have to talk about that because I'm a AI,
Resources. Yeah.
especially my other job. But yeah, if you're not going to those classes, you're missing out on relationships, and you're missing out just on learning.
Yeah.
Because that's where we do learn.
I don't. This is another prompt. How can you be I know how you can because I was, but like I don't understand now being in ministry how people can just walk in the door on Sunday morning, hear a sermon, and then just walk out. Like that's a big struggle in my ministry right now. Is like, and it's selfishly, but like God's obviously given me the words to speak to these people, and then there's just great sermon, preacher. Yeah. I'm like, okay, if it was such a great, you say it's a great sermon, but then let's start applying it to our lives.
Yeah.
The application. And now I know how you feel preaching to me.
I think one of the great things that I can say about that is what Brother Michael brought out last Sunday. Talking about spiritual maturity, I think a lot of that comes along with having a spiritual mindset when we come into church. And what Brother Michael said last Sunday is, I've seen where people will come into church and they'll say, well, I'm ready for what the church can do for me. But really, sometimes we need to say, what can I do for the church? And yes, it is great to hear a great sermon, amazing sermon. I love hearing a great sermon. I love getting preached to. But what are we going to do after that? And as Brother Rob mentioned, there's so many things that we can do in a church, and Sunday school being one of those great things. We have a lot. I wish I could get a percentage number of how many people that we have, not just at Sharon, but just in church in general, of how many will show up to church, but not Sunday school / Sunday evening church. And
I'll tell you, I'll put a plug in right now. If you're not coming to Sunday nights at Sharon Church, you're flat missing
you're
out.
missing out.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I'd rather do that than Sunday mornings. I love Sunday mornings, but man, that Sunday night deal's rolling.
I've seen so many great things happen on Sunday evening service.
I wonder why Gunner's over here giggling.
Yeah, Gunnar, why are you laughing?
We don't have Sunday night church.
Oh,
Sinner.
Well, for all who's listening at his church, you're welcome here at Sharon Baptist on Sunday nights.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to go pour into other people, absolutely.
yeah.
I'm down to
in some
come recruit.
churches, yeah,
We need teens.
they
my
don't do
plug
it, and but it's every church culture is a
Yes,
little different, a
absolutely.
little different wiring.
Because I mean, we've tried when we were here. There was several different methods, I guess is the word to use, that we tried because of the lack of buy-in from an insider perspective that we had at the time, because the culture was a younger generation, a lot of young folks, and we were just tired of coming on Sunday nights and there was some disconnect with us and the older generation. There's a lot of not like fist fights, but just like disagreements on preferences. So we tried life groups. We had a great one that worked for a while, but that goes back to equipping leaders and, putting the correct leaders and teaching your leaders, and that's something that I'm having to now kind of figure out systems to teach people on systems. So
What do you mean teach people on systems?
So when you join it, let's say we got a cleaning crew. One of our teams is you set up for fellowship, you make tea, lemonade, that kind of, like this is one of our teams that we have at our church. Well, if you add a person to that team and they don't know what to do, they're going to ask me, hey, what do I do, preacher? And I'm like, well, I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not on a team, And so just having people to teach people.
Yeah,
and that comes to, like we were talking about discipleship.
Yeah.
Y'all asked, how do you get people to get plugged in? Well, you grow a culture of teaching and not a culture of scared I'm going to lose my idol. Because people can make their position in a church, their Sunday school teacher, their greeter even, that's their idol. And I've seen that tear up so many new people.
I agree. Yep.
And that's unfortunately, instead of, it was real prevalent here when I first came to Sharon. Matter of fact, one of the members of the pulpit committee said, I asked everybody to describe Sharon Church on a note card that's on the pulpit search team, and 3 words or less. And I did it on a note card because I didn't want verbal answers to influence other people's verbal answers.
Yeah.
And so everybody wrote it down. And this one fellow who's a clinical psychologist wrote down, and he was the last one that was going around the table, and he wrote, which can be at every church, but it can be in varying degrees. And, they put, the people on the search team put loving church, kind church, Christ-centered church, and the last guy, who was this gentleman, he put down one word, and he put down territorial. And which, looking back, I kind of, but every church has a little bit of basic. And for our listening audience, let me go ahead and explain from a pastor's perspective, what does that mean? It means that in a negative context, that a church member that's working in any area in the church, they could be, they clean a Sunday school room, they could be the sound guy, they could be the computer guy, they could be the guy that turns the lights on, it could be the guy that is a door greeter. But a lot of times they don't want anybody to help them. Yeah. It's their baby. They don't want anybody to disciple. They don't want to share. And so you want people involved in a church, which is our topic for the second half, but at the same time, like you said, how do I as a pastor teach, Philippians 2, have the mind of Christ, think of other people ahead of yourself, submitting to one another.
Yeah, and it's people that just does not come natural. No. Even Christians.
Absolutely not.
It just, we're broken, junky people.
My brother-in-law's the biggest OCD. I'm going to do it because nobody else can do it as good as I can do it, person that I know, and I love him to death. But you've got to, I'm preaching to myself here, you got to swallow your pride. Clint Brown, one of his last meetings that he was at, he said, and I'll never forget, you've got to stop loving the name, and you've got to stop loving the traditions, and you got to start loving the people and the cry and Jesus.
Yeah.
And mic drop basically, but yeah. And I misquoted it probably, but basically he was like, you got to stop idolizing the building and the name. And I see it in my church, I don't have it as bad as I've seen it, at previous stops back when I was younger, but that famous saying of that's the way it's always been, the way it's always going to be.
But saying that, as long as people are in church, we're going to have those problems.
Oh yeah,
it's just how do we deal with it and try to fix it. But anyway,
matter of fact, Ethan said that a while ago. He said about the positives and the negatives of belonging to a church family. It can be a great blessing, but it also can be like, there's the negatives. There's, in other words, because we're so close, because some people their walk with Christ isn't close, will they act in the flesh every now and then? Will they not treat people in a Christ-like way? And that's, of course, people that are, you're plugging in as a pastor. My feelings have been hurt because people have reacted wrongly. And again, like you said, Brother Rob, we're all broken sinners. It's constant training. I'm amazed as a pastor, as I preach through different books and different parts of the Bible, how many verses there are. I mean, probably I know hundreds, probably thousands of verses that tell us how to treat each other.
Yeah.
How to treat our fellow man because of the sin problem.
Right,
Yeah.
because when you talk about being family, we all have that crazy uncle. So,
Yeah.
but anyway.
Why are you here?
Or we are the crazy uncle.
Sometimes. I know I am at times.
But back to the Sunday night deal, the life groups work well on getting people equipped. And then when we came back into fellowship in the fellowship hall, more casual, more laid back, more discussion made. That's where I really did see, before we stepped away to go chase another ministry opportunity that was presented to me, the flourishment. And so, yeah, y'all do have a really good
That was just
Wednesday
a God
night
thing.
Yeah.
Because we were really trying different things.
Yes.
And man,
I
that
remember-
just went together and it just took off.
Yeah.
It's all a God thing.
Yeah, because I remember one time your class was meeting in the back of the nursery wing.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah.
And all
So-
over the place. Well, that kind of wraps up our time. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Sharing Jesus podcast. And we pray that you have a wonderful day. And again, if you're listening and you're not part of a local church body, and that is that you would get plugged in and that you would come to a realization that, hey, maybe I have just been coasting, and I pray that you get involved today. Have a great day.